I'll remember this moment when Amber Heard she just found out that she had won the UK verdict in that trial against Johnny Depp. It was the absolute lowest point for Depp's defenders, and it was a not only a high point for Amber Heard, but it turned out to be a definitive false peak. And of course, false peak is if you're hiking and you think you see the summit, but then it turns out, oh, no, it was a false peak. There's something beyond that. Well, in this case, it's a false peak, not in that sense, but in the sense that Amber Heard thought she was going to be on that mountaintop forever. She didn't realize that as soon as she stepped off that mountain, that peak, she was going to a valley called the Virginia trial. And it's also interesting to read the book that just came out about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp's battle, and to see how elated Amber Heard's team was after that false peak, after she won that UK verdict, and the level of delusional thinking that was going on among some of her attorneys. Jen Robinson, according to this book, and Jen Robinson admits it in an interview. She didn't even think there was anything wrong with admitting this, how stupid this was. Jen Robinson, her lead UK attorney, who happened to be really tight with the judge, right? Anyway, Jen Robinson says to her, this is all in the book, she says to her, Amber, this is your moment. You should seize it, and you should make this UK win and your claims against Johnny Depp, you should make this your platform, your focus from now on. Basically, Jen Robinson encouraging her to take on the mantle of Johnny Depp's victim even more than she already had, which would have been disastrous. It would have been her just going even deeper into defamation. And so I say all of this because I know that a lot of us, myself certainly included, are down about Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer's team, BRYAN FREEDMAN, basically pulling his lawsuit against Blake Lively. And I certainly, and look, people, some of you were disconcerted by my rant this morning, which I don't understand why, because I went on Zach's show. And basically, I see the panelists on there saying the exact same things that I was saying, but just with a softer tone and no curse words. Is that really the difference for y'all? That if the tone goes up and some curse words get in there, that you're just like, I did want to say, though, to kind of wrap things up for the day, I did want to point this out to everyone, that we have been in very low points before with our advocacy of guys like Johnny Depp and Justin Baldoni. And I just want to reiterate that as much as I do think that BRYAN FREEDMAN and his team have been flailing a bit the last few weeks, and that this was a really pitiful conclusion for this lawsuit to come to. It was not teed up well. It certainly makes sense in a lot of ways to pull it, but it was not teed up well. What happened today, they're trying to, sort of sneak in this withdrawal, so to speak, not announcing it, and then they give this pitiful little statement. I'm sorry, but this pitiful little statement to Popcorn Planet after the fact. No, I'm not in any way demeaning Popcorn Planet. I'm talking about, though, that really that's the best you've got after all, BRYAN FREEDMAN, after all of that bluster, and all of the accusations against Lively and the self-assured we're going to obliterate them, et cetera, and then you can't even give us a statement. You can't even warn us what's coming. It just, there's a little whimper here at the end. The lawsuit goes away. It doesn't get refiled. And then you give this crappy little statement, this half-hearted, limp dick statement to my great friends at Popcorn Planet. Kudos to them for getting the scoop, but that's not what this is about. So yeah, I don't like the way that things have ended here, but in terms of the lawsuit against Blake Lively, and I feel like Freedman did a crappy job here at the end, but I cannot deny that overall Freedman worked a great deal of magic. I think overall he did a good job for Justin Baldoni. I was interested to see the lawyer Omar on the panel, on Zach's panel today, talking about how actually Freedman had made a lot of legal mistakes as well, and had actually done a pretty poor job on a number of his filings, to the point that the judge had to rebuke him for it. If that's true, see, I'm not astute enough in legal matters to discern such things, but if that's true, well, that's not cool. And I would expect that a lawyer making the amount of money that BRYAN FREEDMAN is making should not be making those mistakes, or his underlings should not be making those mistakes. But at any rate, I think that overall, he did a great job for Justin Baldoni with the PR game. And I want to say this to Bryan Freedman. I know how hard it is to do what you've been doing, because I know the PR game. I've been doing a version of it for the past 5 years as a YouTuber, and as a YouTuber who independently analyzes these cases and promotes justice. I know how hard the PR thing is. So I can't imagine having to do the PR thing and the legal thing too. And so you definitely got Baldoni out of the hole that he was in. As much as today sucks, I want people to remember the overall trajectory of this, and the fact that Baldoni was just DOA when Freedman took up his cause and started promoting it in public. And whatever mistakes Freedman might have made, or however much I might not like the way things here have ended, and who knows if it's even totally Freedman's fault, right? I don't know what he's having to work with, or what's been dropped on him, or what his clients are saying behind the scenes. But overall, though, he has done an excellent job playing the PR game. And like I've said before, there are very, very, very few lawyers who can play the PR game, or who are even willing to step into that ring. And I've had disappointment, for instance, with Marilyn Manson's lawyers, who might be great in the courtroom, and Howard King gave a great interview to that one documentary, but he's not put on any kind of a PR fight for him. Inexplicable to me. It's inexplicable. So nobody can accuse Freedman of not putting on a PR fight for Baldoni. I just wish that he would have carried it through to the end. It's so important to stick the landing. And Bryan Freedman, well, I know that this saga is not over. I know that it's just that Justin Baldoni's lawsuit against Blake Lively is over. But I do wish you could have stuck the landing on this. But who am I? What do I know? Overall, Freedman definitely deserves a thanks from Justin Baldoni, and I think has pioneered a number of PR techniques that will be used by lawyers to come. So anyways, but don't forget, y'all, don't forget the false peak after the UK verdict, in which Amber Heard was rejoicing. She had a big party with her friends. The Daily Mail covered it. Remember, they had big balloons, a champagne balloon and stuff and all of that. And then look what happened. And like I said earlier today, Blake Lively, she's not going to come back from this, and not in the way she wants. And she's going to hate the ignominy and disgrace that follows her all the days of her life. So, and probably, honestly, I think that Blake and Ryan are so narcissistic that they're probably going to end up tripping up again. I mean, they've gotten this concession, so to speak, here with Baldoni apparently dropping his lawsuit. But those two narcissistic, egotistical maniacs, they are not going to deal well in the coming months with the realization that their reputations are still in the toilet. And so one thing I think that we can expect is that they're going to trip up again in the future. They're going to say stupid shit. They're going to run their mouths. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to make PR mistakes. And so I think that we do have that to look forward to. I think that when you look at someone like Baldoni, you see someone and SAROWITZ and Wayfarer and Heath, you see people who have a calmness of spirit, and a real deep spirituality, that I think they will be able to keep their mouths shut and move forward with life. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, I think that they're going to continue to be disasters, honestly, because they've not solved their problems. You think that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds have solved their marital problems? Really? No. So that's a fucking powder keg that's going to be just continually going off, the two of them and their emotional drama. And then you've got the fact that Blake Lively is going to have to deal with, she has to deal with the realization that no product line of hers is ever going to work again. It's ever going to be successful. Blake Brown shit, that's dead. The hair stuff is dead. The Betty Buzz stuff is dead. Everything that she touches, product wise, is going to turn to mush. It really will. So, for someone like her, who was so interested in branding and so interested in home and garden type stuff, and being the next Martha Stewart, and then wanting to be the next Kendall Jenner or Kylie Jenner, she had the makeup line, and Hailey Bieber has the Rhode makeup line. So Blake Lively was going to do her Blake Brown thing. No, I mean, those dreams are dead. So she'll try to resurrect them, but she'll have to deal with that realization that that's over. And yeah, Ryan Reynolds, he's got Deadpool and the the football team or whatever, but they're never going to be what they were. And so the dawning realization of that is going to be a problem for them. And I would very much expect that we're going to see Blake and Ryan tripping up in various ways in the future. And I don't know who would want to have Blake Lively on their film from going on from here. I mean, the woman has established herself as being a potential nightmare for any producer or any director who hires her. Nobody believes that this was just a one off. What people do understand is that this was a perfect storm situation where Blake happened to have a director and a production team that were pushovers, and that she felt that she could bully and control, because for the most part she could bully and control them, not about everything, but for the most part she could. And so that made this situation so much worse, because she could just run all over them. But I'm sure that she has been a problem on many other projects that she's been on. And so if you're a director, a potential director or producer, and you could hire any attractive, talented actress out there, why would you hire Blake Lively? Why? What's the incentive there? I'm going to hire this woman. She's beautiful. Well, there's a lot of beautiful women. Oh, she's got a great mole. Well, I'm sure you can find other people with great moles. The mole is not going to be enough to get her hired. Why would you hire Blake Lively when you could hire someone else? What does she have going for her that another actress does not? What she does have against her is now a ton of fucking baggage, a ton of people in the audience, in the particular potential market share, so to speak, who fucking hate her. And we know that she has a certified, established reputation for being a troublemaker and a control freak and a bitch on set. So who would want to hire her? So I assume that the only projects that Blake Lively will be doing in the future will be maybe really small projects that need a big name or a controversial name on them to get a little attention, like that stupid In the Fire thing that Amber Heard did a while back, and the current play that she's doing in Espanol. Anyway, the only reason that you would hire someone like Blake is if it's a small production that you want getting some extra buzz. She got this crazy disliked woman on set, or because you're being paid off by her rich husband. So yes, I'm sure that Ryan Reynolds, with all of his money, he could fund projects for Blake to do. So I would expect that in the future we will see her in things. But as far as being some kind of a mega force in Hollywood or having a successful product line ever again, she is done. So she is done. The bulk of her dreams and aspirations are done. Ryan Reynolds may continue to make successful movies like the Deadpool movie, but he has to know that a ton of people can't stand him or the package deal that he has going with his wife. And I just wonder if we might see a divorce in the future, but I don't know. And Me Too continues to be an absolute disaster. Every single day, I swear, every single day now, we just get one new revelation after another about some Me Too allegation that went belly up or turned out to be bullshit. So Me Too is in tatters, and it will, and Blake is a part of that legacy as well. And she will be mentioned in the same breath as Amber Heard going forward as one of the reasons why Me Too has been completely discredited. So there's that. So anyway, if I had to sum up everything, I guess what I'm saying is, so far, terrible day for Baldoni, a bit of a head scratcher, how we got to this point, how this was not telegraphed or teed up or prepared for better. It does seem a little bit like his team's been flailing around. On the other hand, yes, as many of you pointed out, we don't know what's going on. I look forward to getting back on here if there's some good news, some better news, and announcing it. But overall, long term, the war has been won. Blake has lost. She has lost the PR war. There's no way around that. She's lost the PR war. Even if she wins a battle today, she's lost the PR war. And I do feel like Baldoni has come out of this now on not only even footing, but in a more positive position. Because, prior to all of this, most people didn't have a clue who he was. So he certainly has name recognition now in Hollywood. He can do something with that. He is a sympathetic figure. People think of him in the same vein as they do Johnny Depp. That is going to help. And Wayfarer, once they get clear of some of this bullshit, they'll be able to continue to do projects that are meaningful to them. So, that's where I see it.